Moikka!
Hey!
Welcome to our podcast, Mastering Finland.
I'm Jean and I'm from California.
I'm Petra and I'm from the Czech Republic.
We're here to chat about our life in Finland.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. I'm your host, Jean, and I'm here today with my guest, Eline. Hi, Eline.
Hello, Jean.
Thank you for taking the time to come on the podcast and share your story with us.
Yes, thank you for inviting me. It's such an honor to be here.
So, Eline and I met at the University of Jyväskylä, and we instantly connected when we learned that we were both TCKs. TCK stands for Third Culture Kid. They are those individuals who grew up in neither their parents' culture or the culture of their passport country, but rather in a completely new culture, making it their third culture. So, Eline, you have a very interesting and culturally diverse background. You're half Dutch, half Finnish, but you grew up in Papua New Guinea. So let's start from the very beginning. Tell us about your childhood. Where were you born?
Yes, thank you. Indeed, I was born in Finland, in Jyväskylä, and when I was about 1 year and 2 months, my parents, who are from the Netherlands and from Finland, decided to go to Papua New Guinea. And there in Papua New Guinea, they did like translation work and all kinds of other educational work. And so I grew up there, living in a small rural village with the local people, but we also would go to the base there in Papua New Guinea. And there at the base, there was an international school, so I was able to also grow up with a lot of people from lots of different countries and hear different languages and become acquainted to many cultures.
What year was this?
We moved to Papua New Guinea in 1982, and my little brother was born there. My older brother and myself were, my older brother was born in the Netherlands, and I was born in Finland, and my younger one was born there in Papua New Guinea. So we all have our own little country, and we lived there for I moved back to the Netherlands with my parents and younger brother in 1999 when I graduated from high school.
Okay, so you were in Papua New Guinea for a significant period of time.
Yes, yeah.
For your whole childhood.
My whole childhood. That's correct.
Years. Yeah. What were some of the challenges you faced growing up there?
In general, I think children, wherever they grow up, they think that that is normal. And only later on, when they see other options of growing up, then they start to realize, oh, okay, maybe that wasn't all that normal, or maybe I had a slightly different experience growing up. But but in general, we just took it as it came. And of course, being the only white girl in the local village setting, then of course that made me feel different, and having straight hair and white skin, just already from the outside being different. But in many ways, the people made us feel very welcome and said that we were part of their community. So in those ways, I didn't feel different at all.
And you said your family would go back to the Netherlands or Finland from time to time, or?
Yes, that's correct. In the first few years, it was approximately every 4 years that we would have about a year back in Europe, which would be divided over the Netherlands and Finland. So we could see both my father's family, and then also visit my mom's relatives and the different churches and people that were supporting us. So that was, in the beginning, it was about every fourth year. But then later on, when we were in high school, it would have been too hard to first go to a Dutch school and then to a Finnish school at that level, and then back to the international school. So at that stage, we would go slightly more frequently, but for shorter stays, and then just continue with our books from the international school.
Going back to the Netherlands or Finland, even in those short trips, what was it like to be in the Netherlands? Did you have culture shock?
Yeah, definitely. Like when we would go, for example, I remember when I was 10, I went to school in both the Netherlands and in Finland, and that was just crazy adjusting to both countries and like languages. And then I felt silly because I didn't know all of the things that the other kids knew. And then and then the style of teaching was very different. So yeah, in many ways I felt awkward and it was hard to adjust. But since we knew we were going back to Papua New Guinea, it was like, oh well, we'll just enjoy the fun things that we don't have in Papua New Guinea. For example, the amusement parks or even just riding the metro was like being in an amusement
Yeah.
park. So we didn't really need all that much. And then tasting all the fun different things that were in the supermarkets. So we enjoyed the different types of candy and
Yeah.
other desserts and stuff. And then we would just go back and not really worry about whether or not we made friends in Finland or the Netherlands because they're like, oh well, we'll
It's
just go back
temporary.
to Papua New Guinea and that's where we belong for now.
So when you finally left Papua New Guinea, you said in 1992,
1999,
sorry,
yeah.
that's when you permanently moved out of Papua New Guinea, right?
Yes, that's correct. So our class graduated in 1999, and then all of the other people in that class also returned to their countries. So I think there were 16 different nationalities in the class that I went to, and they went to like there were people from Europe, and then from the States, Australia, Africa, lots of, yeah, just Asia as well. So lots of different areas of the world and people. So that was hard saying goodbye to those, many of whom
Yeah.
I had grown up with since like first grade. And then adjusting to life in the Netherlands was tough because everything changed, like the food that we ate, the clothes that we wore, the air that we breathed, the language that we spoke, just the way of thinking, the mentality, everything was different. So it was really hard adjusting, especially because I didn't even like the way the people thought or what they enjoyed or what their values were. I didn't agree with everything.
Would you say growing up as a third culture kid or TCK in Papua New Guinea changed you as an individual?
Yes, definitely. Yes, like worldview wise, and just knowing that different countries and cultures work in a different way, and that being different is not a bad thing or a dangerous thing or something that should be somehow shunned or like avoided, but rather it can be enriching and exciting to have that large variety of like cultural knowledge and just experiences in different parts of the world.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. So then you went to school, to university in the Netherlands, is that correct?
Yes, before going back to the Netherlands, I had applied to a teacher's college, and then I was able to attend that. And like 1.5 years before it started, we had shortly visited the Netherlands, so we had made the arrangements for that. And then I was
Okay.
able to start that, but I didn't know anyone when I started.
That must have been really difficult.
Yeah, it was. And I noticed later on, looking back, that I somehow gravitated towards the darker skinned like students. So that was
Hmm.
funny to notice that somehow I found friends with them much more easily than I did with the Dutch students. Some of them like were from Suriname, which is also a warm tropical country similar to Papua New Guinea. And even though
Hmm.
they had grown up in the Netherlands and hadn't really lived too much in Suriname more than just some visits, but somehow the culture or the way of thinking, probably this collective culture type of mentality was like in them as well, and also
Yeah,
was part of what I had grown up in. So yeah,
right. Yeah,
we're
the
still
familiar.
yes. So I'm still
Yeah,
in contact with a lot of those friends from that time.
yeah. So then let's bring it back to present day. How did you end up in Finland?
Yeah, after completing the studies in the Netherlands, I also taught as a primary school teacher for a while, but then I realized this is not my thing. I'm not gonna settle here in the Netherlands. I've tried. I had lived there for 5 years, and then I'm like, well, there's got to be more to the world. Why settle down now? I'd like to travel a little bit more. So I
Yeah.
tried to look for different options. I went to Spain for a few months, taught English there. Then I had applied for a scholarship to be in Finland for a few months. I was like, well, maybe I'm more Finnish since my mom is Finnish. So maybe I have to discover what it's like to actually live or study in Finland. Because up to then, I had just enjoyed the holiday feeling of Finland rather
Right.
than the living feeling of Finland. So I came to Finland in 2005 and studied just a few months at the University of Jyväskylä, and that became more familiar to me. And that was probably one of the reasons of wanting to come back, because I realized it was a good place to study. And then I also made some connections in the city as well with different people.
Did you ever feel misunderstood or stuck in between cultures while you were living in Finland?
Yes, definitely. That has been an issue like throughout my whole life. So often when I'm somewhere, someone will start saying, hey, you sound slightly different. Where are you from? And because where are you from question is a terror to answer because it's so long and complicated,
That is a very
then
stressful question for a TCK.
yeah, so then I just think of shorter solutions. So in the Netherlands, when they ask me, you sound different, where are you from? Then I tell them, oh, I'm from Finland. And then in Finland, when they tell me, you sound different, where are you from? Oh, I'm from the Netherlands. And in Papua New Guinea, well, you look different. So where are you from? And then I'm like, oh, I'm from Europe. So yeah,
I totally feel you. Is it from the way you speak the language or how you carry yourself? Or
yeah, they can
what's
hear
the
it.
give? What?
They can hear it
Oh, they hear it.
because
Okay.
they can like it. I don't have a fully Finnish accent or a fully Dutch accent either. So
Okay. So then, what led you to your decision to go back to university to get your master's degree, which is where we met at the University of Jyväskylä?
yeah, so after completing my bachelor in the Netherlands,
Mhm.
bachelor's in education, I had in my mind that it would be nice to do a
Mhm.
master's at some point. But I mean, life went on. I got married, had kids, and so then I was like, well. So many years have passed. Can I even go back and study? Am I able to do that? Fortunately, in Finland, you can study at any age,
Mhm.
technically. So that's a good thing. And then when my husband passed away,
Oh,
and I
sorry.
realized that I have to take care of the girls by myself,
Yeah.
I realized I need to have something that keeps me in their
Mhm.
rhythm of holidays and school. So I can't be a nurse or something that takes me out of the
Right.
house at random hours, but it has to be something that is easily combined with their schedule. So then I was like, well, that leaves pretty much education. And in Finland, a bachelor's in education is not really anything. So then I was like, well, I should probably get my master's
Mhm.
and see what the employment options are after that. So I was able to apply and was accepted. So then that was a good choice to come to Uvascula because it has been so enriching meeting so many more
Yeah.
international students.
So, how did you manage to study and single-handedly raise children at the same time? I can't even imagine what that's like because I can barely feed myself, but you have to study and, take care of children. What are the challenges?
Yeah, it's definitely challenging, and I wouldn't recommend this option to anyone, but Uh, but somehow, life leads you down paths that you don't always choose. So
Yeah.
when I was weighing the options, I was like, well, I could, of course, be in a job where I have to be away from the kids all day long and be tired when I get home. Of course, studying is demanding in itself, but I can be at home more
Right.
and sort of determine my own hours. So there's more flexibility. But yeah, it definitely has been hard to get all the assignments done on time. And with the thesis, especially, I noticed that I just don't have enough space and time to fully concentrate on what the thesis requires. So that has still been hanging, but all of the other projects and courses have been completed. So that's been good.
Would you say that your culturally diverse background affected your approach to parenting? Has it shaped your parenting style?
Yeah, probably in many ways. Like when something comes up that they wonder about, or a word that they say or something, then I might recognize it. I'm like, oh, in this and that language, it means this. Or if someone starts eating with their hands, and the other sibling would say, hey, don't eat with your hands. I'm like, well, in some countries, it's acceptable, and it's like I'm trying to in many ways just tell them that there's more ways to live
Mm-hmm.
a life, which is perfectly fine and acceptable
Right.
than what they see here and now around them. Just a little bit of that, trying to get that worldview wider for them.
That's really important in how children are growing up, that they understand that there's other things beyond their immediate surroundings. Do you have cultural traditions that you've kept with your family? Finnish, Dutch, or traditions from Papua New Guinea?
Yeah, the tradition thing is something that I've been thinking about a lot, because in a way we are able to create our own traditions. Like I do take little elements of, for example, Christmas, elements of how they would celebrate here in Finland and maybe parts of the Netherlands. But then it doesn't have to be very strict, because, like in Papua New Guinea, some places there is no Christmas at all, or they don't
Right,
celebrate
right.
it. At least not with any decorations or all of the extra format. So then I'm like, well, things can be done differently, and it doesn't mean that it's worse. It just is different, and it might be even
Yeah.
easier to not have to do tons of extra stuff. And usually, just a small gesture already can be delightful. So it doesn't, not like the whole house has to be completely different. I mean, some people like change all of the curtains and put the
Hmm.
Christmas decorations in every single room, and have all of these like tightly things that are very specifically that has to be done on the specific day, specific time. And I'm like, well, let's forget about that. Just be more flexible and see how things go with the kids.
So you just go with the flow of how the children feel.
Yeah, yeah. And of course, I mean, if sometimes I do give my own ideas and suggestions and stuff, but trying to not force too much on them that would not be natural.
Right. Is there something you've come to especially appreciate about life in Finland?
Well, one of the reasons that I enjoyed being in Finland was indeed the space that people give you. They're not immediately coming to tell you, hey, you should do this, or why are you doing that? But they step back and allow you to live the way you want. Of course, the downside of that is not having as much contact with people that I would like. So that's it. Usually, every benefit has a downside. But yeah, and I like the nature. I like being outside in the fresh air and just taking walks and knowing that the air is clean. Like whenever I go to the Netherlands, I immediately feel that the air is not as clean, because there's just so many more cars and all kinds of fumes in the air that affect it.
Yeah, I do agree. Finland's nature and fresh air just can't be beat. Do you see yourself living in Finland permanently?
Well, now I've lived here since 2013. So that's 7 years. And I must say that even though there's many good things, I am planning to have like a sabbatical leave or a gap year. in Spain,
Oh,
and
cool.
trying to see how that's going to work out for the three of us.
Yeah.
So definitely, there's a longing for sunshine
Yeah.
and more of an international feel. That's what I'm missing. Even though joining the international class was good, but still, I would like more of an international community where like the whole community is from different countries. And after visiting Costa del Sol, I noticed that there are lots of people from lots of different countries, and that just makes it feel more international. And then, of course, the sunshine and the ocean are other great attractions.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
yeah, we're hoping that this gap year will work out, and then we'll see from there how things go, or whether we would be able to stay longer, or whether it's wiser to come back to Finland. So it's a good opportunity to evaluate
Yeah.
life and what I would like to do next.
Right. I know PCKs really dislike this question because it's very difficult to answer, but where would you consider home at this point?
Well, home is usually where you make home for me, because I've first I
Right.
wanted that it would be somewhere like a location, geographical location, but each time I realized that it isn't in a specific location. It's with the people that you love, but even that is hard because they're all over the place.
Right.
So yeah, there's always someone that I'm missing. If I'm in Finland, I'm missing my family in the Netherlands, and if I'm in Papua New Guinea, I'm missing those in Europe. And so there's always someone somewhere else that I am missing. But yeah, I've tried to make home where I am, with the people closest to me. So at this point, it's here in
Yeah.
Finland with my girls. But when we go to Spain, it'll probably be there, and who knows where it'll be after that.
Yeah. Yeah. I also relate to that. I think it's because our definition of home is really people. Like when you left Papua New Guinea, when I left Kazakhstan, our community, which was all international people, also all left. That was basically what made up our home, were those people, or made it meaningful and memorable. So it's sad that we can't recreate that home, original feeling of home we had. But I think we look at relationships more so than, like you were saying, the geographical location to make our home.
Yes, yeah, I definitely agree with that and resonate with that. And then, of course, cultural identity can be found in many different ways. Like, I
Right.
identify a lot with the collective cultures rather than individualistic cultures.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, of course, over the years, having lived in so many different countries, I probably picked up a lot of different parts of different cultures. So I wouldn't say that I'm one specific culture anymore, but a mixture
Mm-hmm.
of a lot of different ones.
Yeah, yeah. Is there something that you would like to tell foreigners, which you think would help them with their life in Finland?
Well, it's good to be persistent. And in Finnish, you have the word sisu. Some of you might know,
Yes.
which means like this internal determination and grit to be able to keep going and fighting even in the difficult
Yeah.
times and when things are hard. So, but in many ways, it'll pay off, because even with Finnish people that are harder to reach, then
Mhm.
sometimes after being persistent, keep saying hello,
Yeah.
whatever opportunities you have to be with someone, just grab the opportunities, and then at some point
Yeah.
you'll realize that it starts to be reciprocated, and so then often the Finnish people are faithful friends. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. You do have to learn as you go, and
True.
that's true. Persistence, and it does pay off.
Yeah, and there's often flexibility. So whatever the situation is that you have that comes up, you can always address it. And usually in Finland, they are willing to be
That's
flexible
yeah,
about it. So even like for me as a mom and studying later
yeah,
on, like I can tell them like, oh, this is not going to work, or I'm not going to be able to make that deadline. Can I have
yeah,
some extra time, or whatever, I need assistance with the kids? Can I get some? And so often there's a lot of negotiation, which is possible. And often, whenever you ask for help and if you're persistent about it, you're able to usually get it.
They're very reasonable, I would say, in Finland. Like if you make a reasonable case, then despite like the deadlines and things, they are open to working with you to help you essentially succeed in your case of
Yeah,
studying
yeah,
at the same time
it's
as
been good.
being a mom. So, okay, well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast and for sharing.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, and for sharing with all of us your story because, yeah, we all have a unique story and yours is particularly very culturally diverse.
Thank you, Jean, and thanks, Petra, as well.
And thank you to our listeners for tuning in, and we'll see you next week. Bye.